You check your phone for the 14th time this hour. Nothing new. You check it again anyway. Somewhere underneath that motion is a feeling you don't have a good word for. An itch, a pressure, a low hum of almost pain that you call boredom. You assume it's a flaw, a glitch in your wiring, something evolution forgot to fix. But the real answer is far stranger. Boredom was not a mistake. It was built, on purpose, by a process that took millions of years and never once had your phone in mind, and yet somehow it knew exactly what you would need. Start with this. Your brain is, before almost anything else, a machine for finding information. Not comfort, not pleasure, information. For most of the time your species has existed, the difference between starving and eating, between dying and surviving, came down to one question. Where is the next thing worth paying attention to? A change in the wind? A shift in animal tracks? A new shape on the horizon? Your ancestors who noticed these things lived. The ones who didn't. So your brain built a warning system. Not for danger this time, but for emptiness. When the environment runs dry of new information, when nothing changes for too long, something inside you starts to ache. That ache is boredom. And it isn't trying to ruin your afternoon. It's trying to move you. Researcher James Dankert, who has spent years studying boredom at the University of Waterloo, describes it less as laziness and more as a kind of unmet hunger. Your brain wants to be engaged in something that matters, and right now, it isn't. That's the whole definition. Not nothing is happening. Something is happening. It's just not enough. Think about that for a second. Boredom doesn't show up when you're doing nothing. It shows up when you're doing something that doesn't fit. Sitting through a meeting that goes nowhere. Scrolling a feed that never quite satisfies. Waiting in a line with nothing to look at twice. In every one of these moments, your brain is awake, alert, and asking a single question on repeat. Is there something better I should be doing right now? For most of human history, that question had an answer close by. Hungry, restless, understimulated humans were the ones who wandered toward the next valley, who tried the unfamiliar berry, who followed the animal they hadn't hunted before. Boredom was the push behind discovery. It is, in a very real sense, the feeling that built civilization, because comfort alone never moved anyone anywhere. Here is where it gets stranger. In 2014, psychologist Timothy Wilson at the University of Virginia ran an experiment that became infamous in psychology circles. He put people alone in a room with absolutely nothing to do. No phone, no book, just their own thoughts for 15 minutes. Many of them hated it. Some hated it so much that, when given the option to give themselves a mild electric shock just to have something to feel, a notable number of participants chose the shock. Repeatedly, rather than sit quietly with their own minds. Read that again. People chose pain over emptiness. That should tell you something about how seriously your brain takes this. Boredom isn't a minor inconvenience sitting at the bottom of your emotional list. To your nervous system, unstructured emptiness can feel almost as urgent as a threat. Because for most of your evolutionary history, emptiness usually meant something was wrong. No food in sight, no social contact, no new information. Stillness, for a forager, was rarely safe for long. This is the part most people get backwards. They think boredom is the opposite of being busy. It isn't. Boredom is the opposite of meaning. You can be endlessly busy and still be bored out of your mind, because your brain isn't asking, is there activity? It's asking, does this activity matter? John Eastwood, a psychologist at York University who has spent his career studying this exact feeling, defines boredom as the uncomfortable experience of wanting to be engaged in something satisfying while being unable to. Notice what's missing from that definition. Stimulation. You can have plenty of stimulation and still feel that ache, because stimulation was never the actual target. Meaning was. And this is where the ancient signal starts to misfire in a very modern world. For nearly the entire span of human existence, there was a tight, honest connection between the discomfort of boredom and the reward of solving it. You felt restless, you went looking, and what you found usually meant something. A new food source, a safer route, a person worth knowing. The ache had a destination, and the destination was real. Now the ache still fires exactly the same way. But the destination has changed. You feel that itch, and instead of a horizon, you have a screen. The feed never runs dry the way a forest does. It is built deliberately by people who understand this exact mechanism to deliver something that looks like new information every few seconds. Forever. A notification, a headline, a stranger's vacation photo. Each one taps the same ancient detector that used to reward you for finding food or safety. Except now, it's rewarding you for finding nothing, dressed up to feel like something. Psychologist Sandy Mann, who has researched boredom extensively at the University of Central Lancashire, has pointed out that the modern world may be the most overstimulated and most chronically bored environment humans have ever lived in at the same time. That sounds contradictory until you remember what boredom actually measures. Not how much is happening around you, how much of it actually matters to you. You can be drowning in content and still be starving for meaning. In fact, the more frictionless the content becomes, the easier it is to mistake motion for satisfaction, right up until the ache comes right back, usually within minutes. This isn't a small thing to get wrong. Researchers using long-term health data, including work built on the Whitehall studies in the UK, have explored a troubling association between chronic, high-level boredom proneness and worse health outcomes over time. The relationship is complicated, and boredom alone isn't a death sentence. But the pattern researchers kept circling back to was this: people who feel persistently understimulated and stuck tend to report worse mental health, more stress-related behavior, and less of the kind of meaningful engagement that seems to buffer against decline. Your ancestors' boredom pushed them toward food and discovery. Yours, left unanswered or endlessly placated with empty content, can quietly erode you instead. So why does the modern fix feel so hollow? Because scrolling answers the wrong half of the question. It gives your brain motion without meaning, novelty without consequence. Your ancient detector fires new information, logs a tiny reward, and resets almost instantly, because nothing you just saw actually changed your situation. There was no berry, no valley, no real discovery, just the feeling of one on a loop engineered by people who know precisely how to keep that loop running. Real boredom relief was never about input. It was about agency. The forager who felt that itch didn't sit still and wait for the itch to pass. They moved. They chose a direction and walked into it, and that choice, that small act of agency, is what the ache was always asking for. Modern entertainment skips that step entirely. It hands you the destination without the journey, and your brain, somewhat confused, never quite registers it as the thing it was looking for. This is why a long walk with no destination can feel more satisfying than an hour of scrolling, even though the walk objectively delivers far less new information. The walk gives your ancient detector exactly what it evolved to want: a direction, a choice, a small act of exploration that you initiated yourself. The feed gives it an imitation, served continuously, asking nothing of you, and therefore satisfying nothing in you. None of this means boredom is something to fear, or even something to constantly escape. Some of the most original ideas in human history, by multiple researchers' own accounts, have surfaced in exactly those understimulated, restless moments people usually try hardest to avoid. The itch was never your enemy. It was a compass. It just needed somewhere real to point. So tonight, when you reach for your phone for the 15th time, notice the feeling underneath the motion. That isn't laziness, and it isn't a malfunction. It's a million years of evolutionary urgency, asking you a question it has asked every human who ever lived. Where is the next thing worth paying attention to? Your ancestors answered it by walking toward a horizon. You can still answer it the same way. You just have to be willing to look up first.